In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for a BG-Cast live podcast. Yes, normally it's Wednesday, but we had some things going on yesterday. So what's better than not doing a show at all during the week, but maybe doing it a day late? So thank you for joining me and my lady here, Dyanna, aka Transcending Ascension. And we have actually a very special show planned out. We are going to be actually diving into some Alan Watts and the message that Alan Watts was trying to bring to us to let go of chasing perfection. But nonetheless, let's get into our advertisements. Of course, we have Dyanna next to me, aka Transcending Ascension, actually working on New Earth Entertainment. And guys, this is where I always say it begins. It always starts by supporting those in our community. So we have Dyanna's kids books right here. And we have A is for Ascension. And these are the ABCs of metaphysics. And we also have the tiny superhero, Aiden, which is actually named after her son, Aiden. And all of you spiritual parents out there who are looking for something that is enriching for not only your kids, but for you and you guys to enjoy together. And that helps give your kids kind of a scope of what this existence is, what it is about, and the power that they truly have as they're coming up in this world. I highly recommend you head over to Dyanna's shop and you get these books and you help support her, because guys, this is where it begins. Like I always say, it starts with supporting those in our community. This is how we break away from the false matrix system. So head on over there if you guys are interested in checking out her kids' books. And also, guys, we cannot forget Divine Creation Gifts. My friend Lynn, a homegrown metaphysics shop straight out of West Virginia. And of course, guys, you will get a free ship 50 on free shipping on orders over $50, and orders over 100 receive an automatic 25% discount through December 31st, 2025. And guys, if you are looking to check out her crystal collection and everything she has to offer, from her apothecary to your spiritual supplies, crystals and jewelry, and she's also got apparel and merch as well for the store, I would definitely head on over. If you guys are crystal fanatics and you want to, of course, up your crystal collection, definitely head on over to her shop and check her out. And of course, guys, go check out her YouTube channel, Earthborn the Remembering, and give her a subscribe. And of course, she definitely supports BG-Cast, which is amazing. And of course, last but not least, guys, we have the Lion, David, who I had on the show a few weeks ago. And guys, he is definitely the pioneer of New Earth Entertainment. If you want psyop-free and propaganda-free entertainment, I definitely recommend you support David. I have his link tree in both the Rumble and YouTube description of the video. Check out his comic series. It is available on Kindle, but I highly recommend you purchase the comic itself. It is very amazing. He did a great job. And guys, he was on the Spotlight Network. He was interviewed for his comic, and his short film, Dear Lilith, I Love You, actually won a few awards at these film festivals he's been entering into, guys. So again, give David a follow, give David a like, give Lynn a like and a follow, and give Dyanna a like and a follow too, and check out what they have to offer, because guys, like I said, this is how it begins. This is how it starts, and this is how we break away from the false matrix system. But nonetheless, guys, so on these teaching shows, Dyanna is going to be joining me for these teaching shows. We are going to try and start keeping them a little bit shorter than an hour. We're going to try to go around 45 minutes. And the reason being is we want to engage you guys. We don't want to bore you. So we actually have a very special teaching episode we're going to be bringing out tonight. And this is why you see the title, Genuinely Human versus Falsely Divine. So what does this mean? Okay, so let me preface this with a lot of people in our community are really stuck chasing what I would call a spiritual perfection. We have seen this time and time again. I mean, yes, the New Age community, of course, is the most guilty when it comes to this, but it can even happen to us whose heads, hearts, and hands are 200% in what we're trying to do. So I have a message that I kind of want to bring up today. It is about Alan Watts, and it is a short. And guys, I know a lot of us love Alan Watts. He was way ahead of his time, wise beyond his years. And this actually has to do with something he said to his daughter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up the short real quick. We are going to watch this short, and then we're going to dive in to what it means to be genuinely human and why we should embrace that in our spiritual evolution. So let's get to the short. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. Let me bring this up real quick. Hey, Phil, I just saw you pop in. Thanks for being here, man. All right, guys. So this is what we are going to watch. Let's get this going here.
The man who taught millions to awaken chose to never wake up from his own darkness. Alan Watts didn't die from alcoholism. He died from being too awake. Let me explain something most spiritual teachers won't tell you. In 1973, Watts said something that shocked his students. I drink because I'm not trying to escape reality. I'm trying to embrace all of it, even the parts that destroy me. See, Watts understood something radical. While everyone else was chasing enlightenment by rejecting their shadows, he was doing the opposite. He called it sincere hypocrisy, the courage to be completely whole, including your broken parts. He once whispered to his daughter, "The perfectionist path to awakening is just another ego game." Sometimes the most enlightened thing is to stop pretending you're enlightened. This is speculation, but some believe he was experimenting with what mystics call conscious descent, deliberately entering your darkness to transmute it from within. Here's what changes everything. Watts taught that trying to be spiritual is the greatest barrier to being spiritual. His drinking wasn't weakness. It was his refusal to perform awakening for anyone. I'd rather be genuinely human than falsely divine, he said months before his death. Maybe the hidden teaching isn't about his drinking at all. Maybe it's this. Your shadows aren't obstacles to your light. They're doorways. And sometimes the bravest thing isn't to overcome them. It's to love yourself completely, even while you're falling apart. That's not permission to self-destruct. It's permission to be whole. The man who taught millions to awaken chose to never wake up from his own darkness. Alan Watts.
All right, you guys. So that just started over. But let's kind of digest what we just watched there. So real quick, we have just want to give shout outs to Lynn, give shout outs to Phil, Stone. What's up, guys? Yes, Alan Watts is great. I say this concept is connected to Aghor yoga. It's like the dark sect of Hinduism. They embrace the taboo. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I'm actually going to transfer it over to Dyanna for a second, and I kind of want to get her thoughts because she hasn't been able to talk just in the video. So Dyanna, what did you think of that short?
It's great to a large point. I don't think you should stay an alcoholic.
No,
I think you could be genuinely human with problems, but dealing with them, because alcohol will mask that, and it actually makes it more enjoyable to be in trauma. Which, if that's what you want, that's fine, but that's like the Luciferian side of things. And if that's what you want, that's fine. Everybody's in their own journey. Everybody has their own experience, and we all have our own opinions on it. And I would say on the overall message, and he wasn't a perfect person either, is Carl Jung is all about the shadow and the darkness and how you authentically have to alchemize. Because if you're not truly feeling your pain, you're not going to alchemize your pain. If you have buried stuff then it's going to stay buried and you're not going to awaken as fully as you would like to awaken. So these people all kumbaya in spiritual, like, toxic positivity, they're really, really, really limiting themselves into a certain area. And especially if they stay boxed into like they're spiritual people, like think LA and such places, they're not going to see true reality if they're keeping themselves in these environments. So being a true human is just being your true self, authenticity, however that looks. And if you're evolving and if you want to ascend, you should always improve that. So for Alan Watts and his journey, obviously he did learn tons of things and was progressing quite a lot and taught us all a lot of things. So if drinking was part of his thing, that's fine. We all have our things that keep us in this human experience more enjoyably.
I completely agree. Yes, no, you do not want to be an alcoholic. I mean, definitely don't take that from what that clip was about. Ultimately, what I saw is somebody who is embracing being human. We have spoken about, I at least have spoken about this on the show multiple times, and I know Dyanna has spoken about it on her show multiple times. There is a sense of chasing perfection that ultimately kind of permeates our entire spiritual community. It does. And of course, even some of the most seasoned ones, myself, Dyanna, I know a lot of other people, we actually kind of joke because it's in both of our charts that we like to chase perfection. It's something about us. And, it's innate to a lot of people too. It can be in our spiritual makeup, or it can occur from trauma that's occurred in our lives. People making us feel less than, or, people trying to downplay us, demean us. And ultimately what this can do is it can cause a reverberation effect within our beings and in our energy that, well, if I'm not good enough, or I'm not fit for this, or I'm being downplayed, I'm going to do everything I can, to strive for perfection. So that can no longer happen to me. And we ultimately see this kind of start to emerge in our spiritual evolution. Of course, like you guys have heard me say the joke, if you're not circumambulating the mountain 333 times at exactly 3:33 p.m. every single day, you're doing it wrong. But of course, that's a joke, because that is the striving for the perfection that we see in a lot of us, especially in our community. And ultimately, one of the things that we have talked about, at least on BG-Cast, and like I was saying, I know Dyanna has spoken about on her show multiple times, is we have to embrace our humanity. We have to. This is the biggest test, I feel personally, that we have, one of the biggest tests at least, that we have to pass while we're here. And I know a lot of you guys have heard it before. You've heard so many people, oh, I'm done being here. I want to go to the higher realms. I'm done being a human. Or we have the what I would call the escapism spirituality. That is a very old fundamentalist mindset. Going to the monastery, leaving society, separating yourself from your humanity, that ultimately is bringing you out of the very reason that you came here to begin with. And this is why I wanted to even talk about this topic tonight, is because I feel it would bring a lot of us a very great peace within ourselves. And it would actually almost kind of catalyze and bring us even further through the layers of our spiritual evolution when we begin to accept our humanity and learn what it means to be genuinely human. So, Dyanna, let's get your take on what you think being genuinely human means.
Well, what I can do is just bring you through my experience, which if you see my channel, you've probably heard a lot of it. And that's that I was a mess of a person, and I was spiritual conspiracy level theory. Like, I knew this stuff. I was a witch. I was practicing magic. It was succeeding, but I was in a very, very dark place. And then I bloomed through, partly because I started having children, which took a long time. Well, over a year, but that's horrifying when in today's day and age. And I think something about it. And then when I finally had that child, it was like, no, it's time for positive awakening. And I dove into like the higher mind stuff. The all is mind. And I say this all the time. So, and we're told to fix our thoughts and to think correct thoughts and to act correctly and all this such. That is actually good advice. And you do want to do that. But the problem is you need to do that authentically. So I put myself in a box for many years where I was perfect. I quit smoking weed. I obviously quit drinking. And I never went back to that. I quit smoking cigarettes, which I only did briefly in that dark period. I wasn't a childhood smoker, but cigarettes are addicting and I quit them anyways. And I was quit everything. I was eating perfectly. I was even constantly trying to be vegan. I was meditating. I was yogaing and I was miserable. I wasn't happy. I wasn't authentic. I wasn't real. It wasn't until like these last few years, like that just really started to break through that wall and it became a new stage. And it's constantly a new stage of seeing things clearer, like even what's happening with us right now. It's a new stage of breaking old paradigms and coming back into your authentic self. So like, yes, I quit all those bad substances, but like, I'll tell you right now, I went back to nicotine. I vape constantly because nicotine's amazing. And I went back. It's actually really good for you, especially if you have ADHD. The problem is the modality. I understand vapes are not perfect, but they're better than cigarettes so far anyways. But that's something I had to go back to be more authentically myself. And you can call it an addiction, but the truth is I would do it regardless. So like I get the addiction is a part of nicotine. That's just the way it is. But I've chosen it's my path, at least for now, at least for a long time. And I even went back to weed and like THC vaping and also just smoking actual weed, not all the time, like once upon a time, if you know, poppers and a bong, like that was my life for years and years and years pre-children. But then now in the last few years, like I just bring it back in gently. It just helps. It makes that human experience smoother. It helps me connect to the divine in certain moments. It helps me calm down. Like, so there's things in life that like I put back in and like, even eating bad, although we ate some chocolate covered almonds last night because I'm bad with chocolate, which I've said on my show a million times. And then I got him into it. And this morning we woke up feeling hungover from chocolate almonds. So like, that's not going to happen because I'm not going to actually hurt myself anymore. I'm not going to do something that hurts me anymore. So those are not going to be eaten by us because like, that's just the way it is. Like you want to love yourself. So do not hurt yourself on purpose, but weigh within yourself. Is this more helping me than perhaps? Because I'm not one to say you can transmute the Big Mac, but at the same time, if your mindset is correct, you are going to take it in better. And so for me, that's my nicotine and my THC because it just makes life better. And it's perhaps slightly a crutch, but I'm more authentically myself and the journey continues. Maybe one day I'll quit. Maybe one day I'll start something new. Like it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's authentically coming from your truth.
And of course, you guys know me. I do imbibe on, of course, Phil said it down here, the 420. I use nicotine myself. And you guys know that I like to partake in psychedelics. I haven't actually since I came here to out there at dawn. I'm high right now. So of course, like, you know, and it doesn't even come down to the substances, guys. I mean, it does. That's definitely a part of it. To me, what being genuinely human means, and this is why we should. what was that?
Pain.
Pain. Genuinely human means. Well, you got to embrace the pain. You got to embrace the pain. But to me, it is understanding, embracing your humanity. Number one. And what is embracing your humanity? You're here in this temporary human ride, this temporary human experience that we all have chosen to be here during this time to help elevate the frequency of this planet, to help elevate the frequency of our collective consciousness, to help implement a foundation of this energy for the future generations that are to come here. All right. And this is why we're here. Okay. This is what it means to be genuinely human. And so, yes, Stone, you're getting right to my next point. We are perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect. It's kind of a little bit of a twister there because we don't know. I mean, it could be either or. We were perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect. And that is something that we have to embrace. While yes, we are divine sparks, we are subjective focal points of the divine universal consciousness, the all is mind. We are this. And in that essence, we are perfect. We chose to take on imperfection to come here. Okay. And that allegedly. So, and there's many different things we can dive into when it comes with that, but that can be saved for another conversation, another show. Whether we were trapped here or not, left.
You have to embrace it either way.
Embrace it either way.
The message is the same.
Embrace it either way. The message is the same. So, and that's what being generally human means. Also, to understanding your imperfections and your faults, not trying to cover them up and stuff them down, but working with them and addressing them. And that's what it is. I mean, being authentically you, letting your light shine. I mean, Dyanna and I have talked about it on Church of True Christ many times. That song, This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine. Okay, that's letting that authentic piece of yourself shine into and radiate into your existence and other people's existences too. Spreading that contagious happiness and that contagious joy all around. And this is part of the experience, guys. This is, you know what I mean? And this is why we see a lot of people who chase perfection. Like, I get up, and I was doing it too for a while. I get up at this time every day, and I do this, and this all of the time. And then I don't do this, and I don't do that. And that's fine and good. And of course, like, I'm still big on discipline. Having discipline is good. But then it's also, you have to understand, you have to let go. You have to embrace the shakeups that come with this existence. You have to learn to laugh at yourself. You have to learn to cry. You have to learn to even just embrace the pain. Like we were saying earlier, like, we know that pain sucks. We know that trauma sucks. We've been through a lot of it in our spiritual evolution. We have. Real quick, I wanted to address this. That was my favorite song from being raised going to church. But that's the thing. It takes on a new approach when you look at it that way. And but this is the one thing I think we can all take from what we were looking at when it comes to that short is it's better to be genuinely human than falsely divine. We see so many people out there who are putting on the falsely divine mask. Especially in our community, especially some other podcasters out there. Channelers.
Pretty much all of them.
A lot of them.
The public ones, we all channel. But the public ones are,
Exactly. So, and we see people putting on this mask when it comes to relaying a very deeply spiritual message that it's almost stealing from its authenticity. What do you think about that? I mean, it is. It's stealing from its authenticity of the message. And that's why I feel personally that we have to start looking beyond this chasing this false divine perfection. And yes, Phil, all the fake channelers. For sure. For sure. There's a few. Don. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to disagree with you there, Don. I'm not going to disagree with you there. And then we have Stone. Yes, eventually one finds they carry in their memories all they need to carry, walking the path in the humble state. Actually, absolutely. And let's even talk about that for a second, because you can be humble yet confident within yourself. And Dyanna, let's hear what your thoughts are on that.
Well, humble yet confident. It goes into what you were saying before, listing off the things that people should strive for. I don't know if you said it, if I missed it, but trust in thine own self, because know thyself. That's knowing yourself and trust all come from that place. When you truly know yourself and you know your talents, you know what you're good at, you know what you're not, you know yourself as much as possible. You're never going to completely know yourself because you're always evolving and you're always learning new things. You're always expanding. You're always going into your memories. You're always expanding. And when I say memories, I mean the remembering, because If you're truly channeling, it's coming from that remembrance place of your higher self. It's coming from alignment. Automatic writing or journaling, that's why it's often advised, because you will channel through with that. You want to stay in that place of authentic, humble nature, because then if a voice comes to you, because I know Phil said earlier they're fake, some I'm sure, and some are definitely like imbibing the situation, but they could very well be hearing from something. Like we've all had those voices that whisper in our ear. Sometimes it sounds nice. Sometimes we're like, oh, that's like clearly wrong. Sometimes we take the advice and it's wrong. Like there's so many things that come into us. We are nothing but an empty witness. Everything that streams through us is either the blueprints of our astrology or entities or our archetypes. Like we are codes all layered together to form this personality. Our actual witness and our higher self is such a faint and humble essence of who we deeply and truly are. So when you see yourself truly, know yourself truly, but with a humble nature. So remember, I'm the best or I'm the worst. The ego will do either, and it will be dramatic. Your humble self will be like, me, I like doing that. I might suck at it, but I like it. Or I am great at this, but I see that other people are great at this, you know, like, so when you can know you're great, but also realize there's billions of other people on this earth and you aren't the best at perhaps anything, but that's okay, because you can be the best you there is, because each and every one of us is a unique, nobody was born in the exact same place as you at the exact same time. Every time you move, you change the astrology. So you are changing the essence of the person, not to mention DNA and all the other factors that go into making you your own authentic you. So that cheesiness of be the best you can be truly is the best thing you can do, because that's all there is for you to do. Anything else is faking it. Anything else is false, whether it's false of society or false spirituality, because all they're doing is creating a new matrix in spirituality. That's why I left X. There was too many people just complaining. And it's like, dudes, you were just as bad. You were just as bad. The people that are all grand and blah, blah, blah are just as bad. Like Twitter has its place. It was supposed to be a discussionary conversation thing, and it's changed, and that's okay. I've moved on. It's no longer authentic for me. But whatever that is, just always roll with it. Always stay humble, because then you see, always stay open to your own true authenticity. And that's all there is to it, but it's a never-ending game.
I like that. I like that. So I'm going to call Julius Roberts. Yes, you're going to find at least more than one person doing that, especially if you're in this community, especially in life. For sure. For sure. I want to agree with you there. And also, too, kind of touching on what Stone said, when I look for the beauty in others, it's the imperfections I see. Realness. And that's amazing, Stone. Julius, let me see what else you said here. It seems like a lot of people in the spiritual community are ego-filled who lie about releasing.
They might not be lying is the thing, though. They get that's the ego. It takes over and it tells you you're amazing and you're doing great and you're God. If they're not lying necessarily, they're just not listening to the right voices. Yes. So, and also kind of what I'm going to dive into here as well is this also kind of even plays down into discernment of who you're listening to, who you're following, the content that you intake as well in this community, because even as we were talking about before, there's a lot of people who are putting on this mask of this perfection. That they supposedly or apparently uphold, when it comes to their lives. But I guarantee you guys, there's always something there, even kind of going back to what Stone was saying. And that's something I really resonate with. I'm going to go ahead and when I look for the beauty in others, it's the imperfections I see, the realness. Exactly. Okay. And this is where it kind of comes full circle. The imperfections are perfect. Those are what make us that unique, authentic light that we shine into this world. And that's what makes us real human beings, and that is being genuinely human. Because even embracing the dark and yucky parts
of ourselves. I have dark and yuck parts of myself. I know Dyanna has dark and yuck parts of herself. I know a lot of us out there, and especially in the chat, we have these dark parts of ourselves, these yuck parts of ourselves. And what I mean by embrace them is it's not allowing them to run rampant and run wild. Of course, we don't do that. We have to understand that we have this aspect. And Dyanna calls it parts, actually. Why don't you dive into the parts thing a little bit for everybody?
Yes, it's a parts therapy is a form of therapy. And I can't remember if Sam and I did a show on it or we just talked about doing a show on it, but we were really into it for a while. Because it's basically taking your archetypes. So it's just like Carl Jung 2.0, because it's taking your archetypes, but it's then blending it more in modern language too, because with Carl Jung, there's just simply like, he's a genius, but there's a bit of a time delay in what's relevant to us to actually integrate it perfectly. And what I end up finding so helpful is there's these therapists that, or say they're therapists, it doesn't matter, it's helpful anyways. But there was an Instagrammer I used to watch a long time ago because I don't even use Instagram anymore, but she would do the videos where she plays a bunch of different selves and she would talk herself through breakups. But it would show the emotional self talking about it. It would show the logical self talking about it. It would show the brain self talking about it. It would show the petty trauma self talking about it. It would show the subconscious talking about it, which I would say is much bigger of a part, but still I get what they were trying to say with that position. And it would just go through all the different parts and it'd show how people argue with themselves. It would show how people don't agree. That's why not everybody's lying. Most people, that's the scary thing, are telling the truth at all points in time. That's the scary thing. But they think they're telling the truth. And this is where we listen and we feel in for dissonance. Because when we learn what we feel like aligned, when we get a thought that's dissonant, look at it closer and be like, why did I think that? Because a part of you believes it. A part of you sees this is true. There's what happened with us? There was parts of me that knew I loved him. And then there was other parts of nah, that's an egregore. Nah, you're just being immature. Nah, you just, there's so many things. And I listened to the other parts longer than I should have. And that's just what ends up happening. And you miss stuff that could be in your real life. When this finally came out, this happened really fast because both of us stopped being in denial and we're like, oh my God. And he was here a month later. So because we stopped denying. So we were lying to ourselves and then to each other, always playing it off and trying to smooth it over. And we're just friends. No, we're not. But we thought we were because we were lying to ourselves so much and not all the time. But that's how this works. And you bury yourself in your own lies and your own dissonance because you're not honoring all your parts. Now you could say oh, but if some part doesn't agree, then how? You have to go with the highest. When you are choosing your choices, the highest, but this is where you need to know the truest highest. And this is where meditation is real. It's not just no, you need to find the God spark. Turn that on and then try to listen to it. And when we're upset, it can go away, it can shut off, but it's our greatest hope of figuring this out. You can study all the books in psychology and everything you want, which has greatly helped me. But at the same time, what really is always the answer is that spark within and what does it feel? And it doesn't really say many words, but it will light up. It will feel light. It will feel happy with that idea. It will feel okay. It will feel like you cannot tolerate anything else. You need to listen to yourself and think, what will I tolerate in life and what will I not? And head towards the things that you can tolerate in life to start. And it will start to bring you that joy and bliss. Follow your joy and bliss. That's how you get toxically positive easy. But the truth is you do need to follow your joy and bliss. You actually do. But we're programmed to be miserable and you need to work through all that. And it's in parts of yourself. So I just recommend just YouTube or Google parts therapy and just deep dive into that. And it will heal so very much.
I mean, even a good example of this. So I'm going to bring up this story, kind of what she was talking about, focusing on that joy and bliss. But we're going to have programming that kind of interferes with that as well. There's two instances. So I was actually talking with my mother last night on the phone, and actually I'm really happy for her right now. Of course, a lot of you know her in the chat as Teresa Stathis. She's usually here. She's probably not here because she's working tonight, but she just got this really good gig. For those of you who don't know, For those of you who don't know, my mom is a caretaker. She looks after the elderly. And she has been doing it, I think, now for about like 10, 15 years, right? So she actually got a call because of a reference. And she ended up taking this job on the fly. And she ended up charging more than she normally does for this job because it was on the fly. She has a normal day job that she works, and she's actually being pulled away from that at this point in time to actually go take care of this client. And she's been rounding up all of her coworkers. But yesterday she was talking to me about the guilt she was feeling when it comes to this, and I was asking her, I was like, why are you feeling guilty about this? Like, what's making you um what's making you uh feel guilty? And a lot of it was her programming, her subconscious programming, that part of her, as Dyanna was saying, that part of her that had been conditioned throughout her life. She has been told a lot of things. Um, she she has been told that she was selfish, that she would not amount to anything, that she wasn't good enough, or this, and this. And of course, my mom and I actually feel the same way. Well, I don't feel this way about money anymore, but we did feel the same way about this. And she's starting to kind of get on the same wavelength I am about it. We genuinely just like helping people. Of course, I do this show. I don't make money off this show. You know what I mean? I do this because I want to help people. Kind of a similar thing with her. She just genuinely likes helping people. She's even worked for free before, and I had to teach her about seeing money as currency, as an exchange of energy. And I think that's something that a lot of us in this community, like, of course, we don't like money. We see what the evil dollar has done. We know it's a fiat currency. We know it causes a lot of, bullshit in the world, especially when you look at the inflation that's going on right now and all that. And yes, that's all fine and good. We understand that part of it. At the same time, like I said, being genuinely human. Um, uh, what was this, Stone? Hold on. A shirt that reads, I identify. I know what my Xmas gift is. A shirt that reads, I identify as a problem. Or what is it? What is that one? God has allowed me to live another day, and I'm about to make it everybody's problem. That's another one too. But going back to what I was saying about my mom, she's feeling guilty about charging this person how much she charged. And she even looked up, and she saw that she didn't really charge them that much. This could go way higher. And I had to explain to her, and I was like, well, Mom, you have to look at this whole situation the way that it unfolded. It happened very altruistically. You weren't cutting corners. You weren't scamming anybody. Like, this came from what I would say the hand of the divine. It came through. It supported you in a time, where you needed it the most. And so at that point, you kind of take a step back, you take that third party, and I've talked about this on BG-Cast before too, where you take a step back and you look at your emotions and what you're feeling from an objective standpoint. And you can do this by cultivating your neutral mind. I have talked about it many times. I won't bore you guys with it tonight. I won't get super deep into it. And $90 an hour for your online services, and leave a donation button instead. That's interesting. Who's that referring to?
Yeah, they're just saying lots of things.
Yeah. So freaking, but anyways, like I was saying, you take that third party step back and you look at your emotions from an objective standpoint. And you're like, okay, this is all right. This happened the way it should. So why am I still continuing to feel this way? And that's when you can start to understand that this is the programming. This is the programming within you, this part of you that is stopping you from being able to appreciate that higher part or that higher call that is occurring to you at that point in time. Another thing too, kind of pinning off what Dyanna was saying about the parts. How do you know it's the highest part? This is something that I've kind of learned in my own evolution that has helped me identify what the highest part is. A lot of the times when you're listening to your lower parts, they're going to be very mind oriented. They're going to be all up in the mind. And of course, guys, we know the mind, it can be our greatest ally if we train it and we utilize it properly, or the mind can be our greatest enemy if we do not train it and we don't utilize it properly. I've talked about how the mind is, if you're utilizing it right, is the hammer and the chisel that can create your world in front of you. And you can manifest a very joyful, abundant existence with your mind. However, you can also, what you can use to create, you can use to destroy. Your mind is a tool, and you can also use your mind to destroy. So when we're talking about the higher parts and what identifying the higher part is, it's going to be more than just the mind. It's going to be resonance. It's going to be a combination of feeling as well as your mind. Of course, we talk about head, heart, and hands being aligned on this show a lot.
It's mind, heart, guts.
And mind, heart, guts too. That's another.
Three reins.
That's another way to put it. Mind, heart, guts. And that way, when you have that come into effect and you do see that occur, okay, so when you do see that occur, Julius, maybe, just maybe, I'm trying to help people in the best way that I can. This isn't about money. Okay, but I also have to understand what I'm worth at the same time. So, I mean, if you would like, what I could do for you is we could do a free one-on-one consultation, and we can do a 14-day trial period. If you would like to sit down with me and talk, So, I mean, if that's something you'd like to do, we can talk about that. You can reach out to me after the show. But again, as I was saying, when you do these higher parts, you're going to notice it's more than just your mind. You're going to notice that it's going to be of resonance. So that's just something I wanted to touch on, going off of what Dyanna was saying. But nonetheless, guys, all right, we're going to kind of start closing it out at this point. The one thing I want everybody to take from this today, all right, is to stop chasing perfection and learn how to embrace your humanity.
And look at yourself. Think about what you do and what your thoughts are, because that's what matters most.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when it comes to trying to achieve this, because I used to do it to myself all the time. I would set this bar very high for myself. And of course, there's nothing wrong with setting the bar high. There's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to give yourself grace and understand that you're a human. Some days you might hit that bar. Some days you might not. Okay, but ultimately, don't put the bar in what I would say is an unachievable place. All right, because again, one of the biggest tests that I think we're here to pass is embracing our humanity and being generally human. And the kind of even going back to what the short was saying, this constant seeking of enlightenment, this egoic pursuing of enlightenment.
It's false. Like the spark, we're going to Thanos sparkle dust away. We're going to go in a globe portal and be taken to the new dimension. The earth is going to die away the old and keep the new. Like there's been so many splits, zombie apocalypse even originally. Like there's been so many splits that were supposed to happen that we were supposed to see and we're waiting for and things like that. We're not going to see it. The split is those that are ascending and bettering themselves, creating a new world physically, versus those that are going into just continuing 9 to 5, 15-minute cities, do what the government says, blah, 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 society living. There's those that are lost in the middle, still figuring it out. We're in that time right now, but any split is clearly of the consciousness and how we live our lives. That's why we have made ours more physically real and spiritual, because online is great. Everything, we love everyone online, but physically is where it is at. You need to make a physical space. That's what we will be doing. That's where our efforts are going ultimately, because if you don't have that, you need that one-on-one. It doesn't have to be romantic, friends, anything. You need a spiritual community that's authentic, that you can have that mirror, because then you can see yourself clearly and you can figure yourself out clearly, and not one where you have to fake who you are. People where you can cry with, laugh with, argue with, and just hug. Like, all of the things need to be there to be like a true family, like how family is without the toxicity. But keeping in mind, we're all still healing. So you're going to work through those bumps and bruises of life in reality with just anything you're doing. Everything's a chore in the human world, everything. So we need to make this world more spiritual for this to be real and authentic. And that needs to be physical, because online is corrupt.
I would completely agree with that. And of course, as you guys have noticed, my online presence has dwindled. Same with Dyanna's. And it's not because we aren't still doing what we're doing. We're doing it physically at this point. We're practicing what we preach. We have jumped into the unknown. We've pushed ourselves into the unknown, but we've done it together. And we have a similar mindset and a similar viewpoint on how we want to work on this. And of course, guys, that's another thing we have to take into consideration as well. That being online all the time isn't being genuinely human either. It's not. And as I've talked about too on a lot of my shows as well, a lot of these social media websites and a lot of these platforms have almost their own energetic egregores themselves that can pull you in, that can attach you. And I'll put it to you this way. And here's a really good example of this. I'm not an X very often anymore. The only time I'm on social media is to advertise the shows at this point. I notice that when I'm not on social media, I start getting more notifications. My follower count starts going up. Even though I don't care about the follower count anymore. But it's interesting to see, and this has kind of shown me how that there's energies at work when it comes to social media as well, guys. And you guys have heard me on the show, just stop talking. Don't just talk about it, be about it, right? And that's what we're doing at this point. I think this is the direction that we all need to head in. But nonetheless, guys, thank you for joining us for this BG-Cast live podcast. And Julius, one thing I want to say, there are people out there charging way more than that, dude.
I charge way more than that.
She charges way more than that.
And I made his prices in his websites. He doesn't even know what his prices are.
So I mean, she helped me. But that's kind of like, man, dude, very interesting, man. I hope you're okay out there tonight. But nonetheless, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us. Of course, when we do these teaching shows like this, we're going to try to do it a little bit shorter than the hour. Of course, guests. And Julius, it's okay, man. Don't worry. It's fine. And of course, I've even stated that when I advertise this, I do sliding scale. I work with people. It's not going to be a set $90 for everybody.
Yeah, I've never charged anyone a dime.
Yeah.
But my website says I'm like $500, but no, I've helped every single person for free.
Yeah, of course. Like, I'm not going to turn somebody down, But if you are interested, man, let's sit down and have a talk. But nonetheless, guys, like I said, we're going to do this teaching shows a little bit shorter. Of course, the interview shows are going to still maintain their length. I'm actually, of course, gearing up for season 4 that will be coming out January. And of course, I told you guys we're going to be doing a little bit less guests this season. more teaching, because this is how BG-Cast started, and that's how Dyanna got started too on her show. It was more teaching. And not that I'm saying I'm doing away with guests altogether. I want to bring back what made this show begin in the first place, because right now I think we need a little bit more of that than your typical Don and Phil. You guys are funny, man. I will teach you guys how to fix your Japanese sex robots. I've been speaking out vehemently against them for so long. You're an
electrician, yeah.
Yeah, I've been speaking out vehemently against them for so long. I guess you guys went ahead and got some of your own. So maybe I should stop speaking out against them and just tell you to beware of Elon Musk. But alrighty, guys, nonetheless, thanks for joining us for this combined Transcending Ascension with BG-Cast show. I will be back next week. We will have another topic we're going to dive into, and I think we're going to just do teaching until the end of season 3. Of course, I'm going to have Francis McDunn on as well to close off the season like we did last season. And then, yeah, next season, guys, we're going to be doing a lot more teaching, a little less guests. We're going to kind of get back to the grassroots of what BG-Cast once was. But other than that, guys, you know what we say here. Stay safe. Stay free, have that personal sovereignty and that personal agency. I'm not going to tell you to stay away from the Japanese sex robots anymore, but beware of the Japanese grok. How's that go? That's getting a little weird. So, alrighty, guys, thanks for joining us. Have a good night. Take care.
Collectively together, you were born to rotate with the crowd. You were born to sync with the sacred spiral. The Hercules stream is proof. The cosmos hammers the divergent. BG-Cast brings us that Hercules energy. It's here to save the day. You won't stay lost in the dark. Here is your shot with BG-Cast beside you. Can we rise alone?